P stands for priesthood. Priesthood. How many of you used to play school? Okay, good. I'm glad to see those hands up. How many of you used to play church? I'm glad to see a few hands go up. My kids played church. They'd pull out the stuffed animals. They'd put them on the couch. They'd sing the song. They'd do the talk. Got a little nervous when my daughter started blessing the sacrament, but they'd play church. And I used to think, oh, that's so cute. It's so cute. But now I'm older and I realize it wasn't just cute. It's actually what most people in the world are doing. They're playing church. They're sincere. They want it to count, but they don't have the authority. They don't have God's permission so that the things they do really count on earth and in eternity. Man, I want what I'm doing to count. And to be able to have that, we have to have the priesthood. We have to have that. I lived in Wyoming while I was getting my PhD, and I was working at the university in what they called the writing center. And in the writing center, people would come and get help with their papers, and I would supervise a few tutors who worked there with me. Well, one girl came late to work, and I said, "Where have you been?" She says, "I'm sorry, but I was at my wedding rehearsal, and I'm just so upset." I said, "Maybe you shouldn't marry him." And she said, "I'm not upset at my fiance. I'm upset at the preacher." I said, "How can you be mad at a preacher? They're nice." She said, "Well, I'm not mad at the preacher. I just don't like those words." What words is she talking about? "Till death do you part." Most churches don't say that anymore. Now they say, "As long as you both shall live." It's the same thing. And she didn't like those words. She said, "I feel like I'm getting divorced the day I'm getting married." I was like, whoa, this is like a missionary moment. This is a missionary moment. I mean, Brad, come on, don't blow it. Don't blow it. So I said, in my church, we get married in the temple where we are sealed for time and all eternity. And she went, "Oh, I love that." And I said, "Fill the font. I'm going to baptize this girl right now." No, she didn't want to get baptized. She didn't even want to meet the missionaries, but she did want to rewrite her wedding ceremony. So she went to the minister and she said, "May I write my own ceremony?" And he said, "For an extra fee." So she paid the extra money and she wrote her own ceremony. And I sat there in that Protestant church and listened as the preacher sealed them for time and all eternity. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm freaking out. I'm like, whoa. Everybody in the church was like, "Oh, that is so special." I was like, that is so wrong. That's just like wrong, like lightning bolt wrong. Why? It's a free country. They can say whatever they want to say. Why did I feel it was wrong? Authority. No authority. They just didn't have permission to say those words. And so did it count eternally? No, because they were playing church. And in our church, we don't play church. We have the authority to make that count on earth and in heaven. And that is something I don't want to say goodbye to. Now, sadly, you live in a time where a lot of people get uptight about priesthood issues. It's one of the most glorious things we have in the church, and yet people want to sit and fight about it and get uptight about it. Now, I don't mean to oversimplify a complex issue, but I sure think we make it a little harder than it needs to be. How come the blacks didn't get the priesthood until 1978? What's up with that, Brother Wilcox? What, Brigham Young was a jerk? Members of the church were prejudiced? Maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe instead of saying, why did the blacks have to wait until 1978? Maybe what we should be asking is, why did the whites and other races have to wait until 1829? 1,829 years they waited. And why did the Gentiles have to wait until after the Jews? And why did everybody in the house of Israel, except the tribe of Levi, have to wait until... When you look at it like that, then instead of trying to feel like you have to figure out God's timeline, we can just be grateful. Grateful right down to our socks that the blacks received the priesthood in 78. Grateful right down to our socks that Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery had the priesthood restored to them in 1829. Maybe we should just feel grateful. Yeah, but Brother Wilcox, how come the girls don't have the priesthood? I mean, that's what I want to know. How come the girls don't have the priesthood? What's up with that? Girls, you're going to hear a lot of people say a lot of things, and many of them say them with very angry voices. But just because somebody's angry doesn't necessarily make him or her right. Just because somebody's loud doesn't necessarily make him or her right. I was at a professional conference for BYU. I had a name tag. It said Brad Wilcox, Brigham Young University. Some lady walked up to me that I didn't even know. She sees my name tag and she's like, oh, why don't you give women the priesthood? Just like that. And I said, good to meet you too. And then I asked, what's the priesthood? And she said, well, I don't know, but I think the women should have it. Seriously? I don't know, but the women should have it. What's malaria? I don't know, but the women should have it. I mean, I'm going to let her voice that's very shallow drown out my testimony just because she's loud? No way. Girls, listen closely, because I don't know that you'll ever have somebody explain it quite this point blank again. You have access to every priesthood blessing. There is not one priesthood blessing that you are denied. And you serve with priesthood authority. When you are set apart in a class presidency, or you're set apart as a missionary, or in any calling in the church, you serve with priesthood authority. You will go to temples where you will be endowed with priesthood power, and you will dress in priesthood robes. How come the girls don't have the priesthood? What the heck are they talking about? Your life exudes priesthood. It's surrounded by priesthood. It emanates priesthood. So what is it that women don't have? Two things. One, priesthood keys, and two, priesthood ordination. Well, how come women don't have priesthood keys? Well, how come most men in the church don't have priesthood keys? Priesthood keys are an organizational structure. It's how God's house is a house of order. And so not everybody needs them. Just those who are part of this organizational structure. So how many men in a ward have priesthood keys? The Spirit is whispering. The Spirit is whispering. 4, you knew it. You knew it. I'm so proud of you. Let's name them. The bishop, the elders quorum president, the teachers quorum president, and the deacons quorum president. So girls, don't mix keys up with influence. We're certainly not saying the only ones who have influence in the church are the bishop, the elders quorum president, the teachers quorum president, and the deacons quorum president. Surely there are others at all levels of the church who have great influence without having keys. So don't mix those up. Don't think that that's something that's needed to be able to make a difference. What else don't women have? Priesthood ordination. They're not ordained to the priesthood. Well, how come they're not ordained to the priesthood? Maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe we should be asking, why don't they need to be? Girls, how many of you have ever entered a temple to perform ordinances? Okay, raise your hands high. Raise them high. Okay, do you realize that you have done something that no man on this earth can do? There is not a male on this planet who can enter a temple to perform ordinances without being ordained. And yet you just waltz right in. You walk right in. So what is it that sisters are bringing with them from a premortal life that men are trying to learn through ordination? Maybe that's the question that ought to be keeping us up at night. You want to walk away from the church? Walk away from anything that lets anything in your life count or matter beyond this life. You're walking away from priesthood. And I don't want to live in that land where purpose becomes empty and where anything good has an end. I don't want to be there. I don't want that. I want to be able to have priesthood. And that's what we've got in the church. G stands for? Good. O stands for? S stands for? P stands for?